Welcome, everybody, to another edition of Coffee and Open Source, a place to meet some new friends, have some great conversations, and maybe learn something along the way. I'm your host, Isaac Levin. And if you're enjoying the conversations here, to be sure to like, subscribe, follow where you're watching or listening. Also, if you or someone you know would like to come on the show and have a chat with me, you find me on social media, Isaac R. Levin. That's the place to find me. You go to my website too, isaac.levin.com. There's more information about me. So let's just chat. I'm looking forward to my guest today. It's not very often that you get to talk to somebody like on this show that I get to talk in real life a lot. And we're just going to talk about stuff. My friend today, Brady Gaster. Brady, you want to say hello, introduce yourself?
Sure. How's it going? I'm Brady. I've known Isaac for quite some time. Consider him a great colleague. So it's great to be here.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to this conversation for a lot of reasons. Mostly
You
just
can
to see,
embarrass me.
mostly just to see how well, how unhinged this will get because we like to have great conversations. I personally want to get started with how you got started. Like, when did you realize, Brady, that technology was a thing for you? Like, do you have a pivotal or seminal moment that you can recall?
Yeah. So I was at Appalachian State University. I think I was in graduate school. Let me text my family and tell them I politely need to decline all text messages. Interviewing with Isaac. So I basically was, like I said, I was at App State and I was studying psychology. I was going to be a high school guidance counselor. Imagine that. And I just got really into the web. Like it was like that time, like the well was big in San Francisco. Like people were starting to get into like, netizenship and like whatever else. And I got really into it. And I was in my apartment with my roommate, Trista, my best friend. And I just kind of looked around the corner at her. And I was like, I bet I could make a career out of this like programming thing. And she was like, that should be your idea. Like there's this place called Silicon Valley right now. You might have heard about it. Like there's a
Sure.
lot of people going well. And I was like, yeah, I'm gonna keep going with psych. Yeah. A couple of years later, I went to graduate school for instructional technology, doing computers in the schools. I switched over from guidance counseling. Uh, they helped teach a class in hypermedia. I really got into that. And I went to my advisor, like kind of the beginning of my first year of graduate school. And I was like, if I haven't learned anything by like the middle of drop period, I'm going to start my career. And he was like, it's probably a good idea. You can always go back to school, you know? So I went into consulting, moved to Chicago, did some consulting in Chicago. I learned SQL on the job. That was fun. My first consulting gig was at the Chicago Tribune debugging a Perl script that would parse news feeds. Uh, I remember my favorite quote was etched into the wall. It was Voltaire saying, "I do not agree with a single word that you're saying, but I defend it to death your right to say it."
Sure.
Yeah. So that was cool. That was my how I got into tech. Was that whole little story. Ironically, I almost got out of tech at one point and went back into counseling. And I was kind of burned out. And one of your guests the other day told the story really well because somebody that inspired her. I was going to Codestock in Tennessee, and I went and saw Seth Juarez give a presentation.
Yeah.
And I was telling a friend of mine on the way there, I was like, I think this is it. I think I'm done. I think I'm going to get back into psych after this. This is my last conference. And we got there, and I went to Seth's presentation, and I was like, oh my God, I am so energized right now.
Yeah.
Like I'm never leaving this industry. You know what I mean? This is amazing. Like I totally want to do this. And right after that, I got my job at Microsoft. And it was interesting. I was talking to Paige Bailey years later because she was going to keynote at Codestock, and I told her the story that I just told you, and she used that story in her keynote.
Mhm.
So it's pretty cool. So yeah, Codestock, go to it if you ever get a chance. So,
Yeah. I mean,
yeah.
I do think there is a point in time, especially for people like us that have kind of made careers with like the educational part of tech as well as like the building things part of tech. Like
Yeah.
you're just
Yeah.
inspired by something. Like I've told the story 1,000 times. Like I was at Microsoft Build years ago, like I was kind of like a person who just like wrote code and didn't really do anything, and then I saw a bunch of presentations that really inspired me. Then I started doing the speaking thing, right?
Yeah.
Um, I think one of the things I've always found really fascinating about tech is that even though like all of us are all doing our own things, maybe we're using different languages, different frameworks, we have all of our different opinions, we all really kind of have one singular interest, and that's like doing cool shit, right?
Oh yeah, doing
Like,
cool shit. Yeah.
yeah. And I think, and I say this to people, it's like, if you haven't found like the cool shit yet, like, you just need to keep looking for it, right?
Oh yeah,
Like,
totally.
um, like, like, when was that point for you? Like, when did you, like, obviously you spoke at some conferences and that, but like, when did you, like, the first time you took a look at something you're building and you're like, oh, this is cool. Like, I enjoy building this. Like, I would enjoy building this if I wasn't getting paid for it.
I mean, this is gonna sound cheesy. I worked at GitHub. I worked at Microsoft 15 years. It was .NET. Like it was
Sure.
.NET. I remember doing. I was a consultant again. I'd gone back into consulting. Went in and out of consulting for years. And it was a company called Distributed Objects. My mentor was there, and all we did was, all we did, man, was modernization. Odd, huh?
Sure.
So we were modernizing from like Power Builder to COM, like MTS was brand new, like DCOM, Corba was all brand new. So we were doing like all distributed tech, and everything we did was either COM, DCOM, or Corba in Java. And .NET came out, and I remember going to the .NET kickoff conference with this dude, Mike, weirdest guy ever. I love him. But we went to this conference and just like fell in love with .NET. Just totally fell in love with .NET. And I think it was more C sharp. And I think it was watching Don Box type C sharp in Emacs. I learned C sharp. I was
Yeah.
like, I think I understand it now, and I've
Sure.
never learned a language that fast. I was like, I'm into it. I'm so into it. And at the time I was like a VB guy, so it was really exciting. And I remember uh, being on the plane on the way home, and Mike, my mentor, was like, "That was really exciting, but you know what I'm looking at now? RDF and RSS. I think this is going to be the next thing." Like, it's totally the next thing.
Yeah.
So you just see when you look back, and you see like these moments where somebody's like, "You know what? We probably look into RSS. I think that's going to be a thing,"
Yeah. It's so
and you just
funny too
ignore it. You're like, What are you talking about?" And
because
like,
now, yeah, we talk
it's
now
like
about like,
ubiquitous.
yeah, exactly, right? Like the idea, like,
Yeah,
now we think about some things in tech that are just like commodities. Like, could you imagine a world before RSS? Like, yes, because it existed. Like, could you,
exactly. Yeah.
like, and I think that there have been seminal moments like this in tech. I feel like it's every 10 years. That's probably not accurate, but like, the internet becoming available to everybody, the internet becoming available to everybody by version of a phone,
Yeah.
the, um, the introduction of different architectures where distributed systems were easily more comprehensible. Like,
Yeah.
there's like every few years there's these moments where it's like, oh, we don't remember anything before that time, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I remember, like, I've told the story a thousand times. It's like, I remember like the day the iPhone came out, and I was like, oh, like, you have a computer in your phone, that's pretty cute. And then, who would have thought that's no longer cute? It's like essential to human
Oh, it's
civilization.
essential. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
um
Yeah.
what are some of the things that you remember, like, because you've been doing this a long time, like, what are some pivotal moments for you, Brady, that like you saw it and immediately it was day one, you're like, oh, that's a thing I need to actually start doing?
Uh, think databases. I knew I was either going to have to learn databases or networking.
Mm-hmm.
No, I fought really hard. I was like, no, no, I really want to do like the creative stuff. I feel really dumb saying that now. Um, but having to learn SQL, like Scott Kate yelling at me for weeks on end, like you have to understand the fundamentals of this. That to me was like really really hard. Like learning how to do that. Pardon me. That was a seminal moment for me. And then the years later, like talking to Ruben and learning how to do Orleans and learning that like all of the stuff I had done with databases was wrong. and like, over and over and over again, like learning that you were wrong and like
Yeah.
being okay with it. I think hearing Satya one time say, again, not to name names, but hearing him say one time, like, don't be a know-it-all, be a learn-it-all.
Sure.
That really like hits me. Like I've told my kids that a bunch. Like just keep learning, just keep learning. You know what I mean? It's scary, scary.
Yeah.
Like for years I wanted to be in the MIDI. Like
Yeah.
imagine this. Imagine Brady not in the MIDI. Because I was like scared of the math and scared of counting to 16 over and over and over again. I just knew I was going to fail at it. I was like, it's going to be hard. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? And like, I remember talking to Jeff Ritz one time. He got so mad at me. And I said, you know what I don't like? I really don't like things that are hard. And he was
Mm.
just like, it's like the fact that you say that is like irritating. Cause like you find something that's hard
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
you go and you break it and you really try to make it easy because you hate shit that's hard. Like you
Yeah.
hate it when things are hard. It's like squad, you know.
Yeah,
so,
I mean, I
so
think we'll
yeah.
we'll talk about squad and AI stuff, but I want to kind of
Yeah.
continue in this track of like, doing hard things. Do you think that is and I'm going to put this in quotes, a personality trait of people in tech that they really like hard things because they like the feeling of being able to solve the hard things?
I do think so. I think that people in tech are also really particular. You know what I mean? Like
Mm,
like they obsess about things. I think
it's an understatement.
Hanselman. Oh, it's a mild understatement. I think really the moment for me, like you talk about seminal moments. I don't know if this is like a technological seminal moment or like an existential seminal moment, but I was listening to This Developer's Life. Is that what it was? You should bring that back, by the way.
Hanselman and
Somebody,
Connery's thing?
yeah.
Yeah.
I was listening to This Developers. I think it was TDL, and they were talking about um somebody who was obsessive, and he admitted like he's obsessive about things. And it was kind of a sad thing, because like he was talking about his partner with whom he was no longer with. Um, during the show, and he said that they were lying together, and he was listening to her heartbeat, and he was like, "Your heartbeat is like something's wrong. Like it's like a pa 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 pa.
Mm.
It's like a irregular heartbeat." And she was like, "Ah, it's fine." She was like, "Everything's
Sure.
fine." It seems like a doctor would have said something. You know. So, dude, like, this is back then. This is back when they were doing TDO. I don't have ChatGPT on my desktop. Barely had Google. You know what I mean? Bro figures out how to make a freaking, whatever heart thing. What do you call it? Like when they're listening to your heart. He
Oh, a
figures out how to make
stethoscope?
it out of like, well, yeah, a stethoscope out of like twigs and twine and shit. You know what I mean? So he listens to her heart. He's like, you have a heart murmur. So she goes to the doctor. Sure enough, she has a heart murmur. She's got a heart problem. A couple years later, she has surgery. People in tech are like that. They obsess about things, like I've been sitting here obsessing about building a coin, in Bamboo Studio. They obsess about some bug, that is like point two, microseconds slower than it was the last time they ran consistently every time. Oh, that's a pattern I'm noticing. If I shut down Visual Studio and I rerun it, it starts over again. Like these are things that you notice. You and I would spend weeks together when we first started hanging out, debugging freaking Kubernetes, YAML,
Yep. Yeah,
files.
yeah.
It drove us batshit, and I think that's the requirement for technical people. I think that's the requirement for engineers. Like any kind of engineer, like telephone pole engineer, software engineer, friggin' AI engineer, whatever. It's like obsessing and making it better and making it better and making it better and making it better. And I worked with a guy at one point who's doing AI stuff now down in Atlanta for small businesses. And he says, "Oh, great, another one of us." And I went, "What?" And he goes, "Me and you and Jimbo are all starters. We need a finisher."
Mm.
Like I think every software team needs somebody who hates shit that ain't finished.
Oh,
You know what I
yeah.
mean? And like,
Yeah.
oh, you got to finish it up. The problem is software's never finished. Like
Yeah.
forget about it. Like as soon as you think you're done, there's a whole new set of features. So I think from that, I think my advice to somebody in software: find a way to be the finisher. Find a
Yeah.
way to be the person that closes a project. Like make that your thing. Like don't take credit for shipment for God's sake, but just close stuff out. You know what I mean? Like get it done, like push it over the line, get hooked on turning red to green. So
Well, you bring up a really good point, right? Because I think I can speak for myself. I can't speak for everybody in tech, but like being a perfectionist in tech is like very, very hard,
mm,
right? And also, I think it's
you'd write
also
software to make it perfect instead of making it perfect. Yeah,
exactly right. And
yeah,
I, and back to your thing about like just actually being able to finish thing, like crossing the finish line. Are we actually ever able to finish something if it has to be perfect?
Well, Damien always said, he would say this over and over again, don't let perfect be the enemy of good. Took me a lot of years to figure that out.
Yeah,
Like, but, that thing, that, but, like, be okay with it, like being at 90%. We'll go work on some feature to like get it to 100%. Then we'll come back and we'll make it 100% later. But like, it's never going to be 100%. I think that's one thing that like, I don't know. I'm never going to, I think anybody who claims to be wise immediately defaults to not. But I think one of the things that you learn is to stop being a perfectionist and to stop seeing finished and like to enjoy that process. It's like the ride is part of the, like, what is it? The trip is the point, not the
sure.
destination.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I think a lot of times it's about the learning, you know what I mean? But you got to ship. Come on.
Yeah.
Like, you have to ship. So,
Yeah, I remember we have a mutual friend, and I was having a conversation with him, and I was making a video about something, and I was just chatting with him, and he's like, "Oh, like you're making the video? Okay, how's it going?" I'm like, "Oh, it's going good. Like, I'm doing this and this." He's like, "Why didn't you just record and just publish it?" And I'm like, "What do you mean?" He's like, "Why are you wasting so much time editing it? Why are you wasting so much time like trying to get like the mouse in the right spot in the right word? Like, why are you wasting that time? Just like say it and ship it." And I looked at him and I said, "I'm not you.
yeah.
I need things to fit into my little box of what I think they should be." And I have tons of jealousy or envy or whatever word you want to use for people that can literally just do something and then they just send it to the universe and they're just cool with it.
Yeah. Right.
Like,
Right.
and one of the questions I have for you is like, at what level of discomfort are you okay with? Like when
All of it.
things get out there, right?
All of it.
You're okay with all of it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you're totally somebody who, you put together a prototype. It's not exactly the way Brady wants it, but it's good enough, and then you'll just throw it out there to see what people's reaction is.
I mean, yeah. The thing I don't like, and we've discussed this like ad nauseum, and I actually have a question for you as well. Um, we've discussed this a bunch of trolls. People who like they'll milk the algorithm or they'll say mean things just because it brings traffic to their whatever.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I think that I get it. I totally understand it. It's your business. Like, you got to pay for clicks and stuff. But I don't know. Sometimes it puts people in very uncomfortable circumstances. Sometimes it paints someone's product in a very negative light, and it's hard to get away from that. It's hard when you reach out to an advocate and you go, man, I would love to like collaborate with you on a show, and then they go and they do a show, and then like the show brings you like death threats. Like that's great. Like that's always fun. So I think like folks in the community to think about the implications of some of the shows that they do. I think that's one that I kind of run away from. I'm never okay with that. I know that it happens. I don't expect the best out of people. Let me put it that way.
Mm.
So if you walk through life kind of expecting not necessarily the worst out of people, but I expect mediocrity at best. If I get better than that, life's great. you know.
Goodness gracious. Yeah.
So
Okay.
and I'm not trying to be a negative or a pessimist. It's just with experience comes acceptance of imperfection. You know what I
Mm.
mean? So yeah.
That's such an interesting way to phrase it, right?
Mhm.
I was having a conversation with my wife a couple days ago about something. I still am so guilty of this. Like okay, I'm gonna record a 2 minute video. It takes me like an hour. I'm like, why? Why did it take me an hour to do a two? And she's like,
1 hour per minute. 1 hour per minute.
it's crazy. It's absolutely crazy.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, I had to
Same.
re-record my voice like 10 times. She's like, why? I'm like, because I didn't like this word that I used. And she's like, why do you care so much? Why are you so
Right.
like, why is it so why do you have to be such a perfectionist about the words you use? I'm like, because if I say the wrong word, every time I see that video or hear that video, I'm going to remember that I failed. And that is
Oh
such
yeah.
a toxic way of thinking about things, right?
It's
Like,
it's it's a toxic way of thinking about it, but I think what it does is it forces one to. I mean, you can always like take yourself to a negative place, or you can
yeah,
take yourself to a let me get out of it place. For me, for example, like I have a thing that I need to record that I tried to record last night twice, and it didn't go well. And like I always do the video first because some of this shit takes a long time. So you record it and you cut and you like explain,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
you fill, whatever, put ads in. So there's that process of like editing. Like it's never like demos are never begin to end smooth. Like forget about it unless you do them on stage. Um, um, so I was trying to record one of those and I started thinking like, well, I gotta record my voice. I always do my voice late at night after everybody's gone to bed and there's no noise. I have this thing I'm printing. Hmm. Okay. I can't start anything when that's finished
yeah,
because
yeah,
I need to record my voice later. So then you start thinking, okay, well, if I'm going to record tomorrow, like this is going to take 12 hours to print. Okay, if 12 hours to print, if I start recording my voice at 11 p.m., okay, like now talk about OCD. Come on, dude. Planning your life around like how like when you can record your voice.
yeah,
And I
yeah.
only sound good between the hours of midnight and 2. So that's it. Gotta sound
I
good
don't know. I
whenever.
think you have like, and this is just too inside baseball, but like I very much appreciate the mid Atlantic, like mid South Atlantic drawl. Like not so far south where you can't understand people, but like that in between area between like
Big,
the DC Pennsylvania sort of accent and like the
mm,
Georgia accent because
mm,
there's a cadence to it that works very well for me, and it's all of it's discernible. So that's me
that's funny.
complimenting your accent anyway.
That's funny. That's funny.
Good.
Yeah, one of our advocate friends walking around with his relatives from Africa, and he came up to me in the hallway and said, "This is before he probably wouldn't have gotten away with this." Came up to me in the hallway. He was like, "Say something." And his whole family gathered, and I went, "No, for real? You told him?" And he was like, "Say anything, say anything." So I
Yeah,
was
yeah,
like, "How y'all doing?" And they were like, "Oh my God!" And they like went crazy. So yeah, my wife, whenever she would go grocery shopping here, people would ask her to talk, like when we moved here. I had a question for you.
okay.
I was thinking about something the other day. I was watching one of your shows, or we were talking about you were interviewing somebody. This is great, and this is not a setup of once. You were interviewing somebody, and I used to do demos as a business, so this comes from a place of empathy. But you were talking to a product person and you said, but it doesn't like how would you demo this or how would you
Yeah,
talk about this?
yeah,
And it was a funny moment because like as a product person, I'm thinking, wow, I'm just thinking about shipping the product. I haven't really thought about the demo. And like as somebody who's in the demo world, you're thinking, well, it's impossible to demo. Not necessarily, and it did not come off this way because I know you. You know what I mean? But it's like sometimes when you're thinking about the demo, you're not thinking about how hard the product is. When you're thinking about it goes both ways.
yeah.
It's
I know what you're
hard.
gonna ask me, but go ahead.
It's hard from the perspective of an advocate to put down the value of the thing the product's going to solve
Hmm.
versus, well, I can't really do a demo on it. Like, and that's got to be like, that's hard to resign oneself. I,
Sure.
I used to have to resign myself with that. Like, dude, I can't demo this. Like, you want to do a 3-minute demo with this? No way. We have to record it and cut it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, how do you go about that? Like, so if you were talking to a young advocate, what would your advice there be? Like, when do you draw the line? Like, the whole perfect is the enemy a good thing? You want to
Yeah,
show
yeah.
the value of the product. You know it's not graceful. You're going to have to do a cooking show, whatever. You know what I
Sure.
mean?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Let me just set up a little bit of context to it. Like I love this question because I think about it constantly. I I constantly need to have empathy for people who build because I will say this: somebody will a PM or an engineer will come up to me in my career and say, "I want to show you this really cool thing. I think that," and I look at it and I say, "That is boring as hell. That is not a in my brain. Like that is not
Right.
something that I can dem because it's not exciting."
I can't show that. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
in my whole thing has always been like I want people to see the demo and immediately want to go do it at home. And there are some things that are very, very important for product, for engineering, for business, for whatever, that a demo will not excite anybody because it
Right.
is kind of it is a non sequitur. It is colloquial. It is like whatever, right? It
It's
whatever.
like, oh, I sent somebody a text message and toast came 5 minutes later. Like, wow,
Yes,
cool.
right. I
Yeah.
mean,
Also kind of spoiled, you know what I mean? So there's that.
yes. So
Yeah.
to answer your question is like how what sort of advice do I give somebody whose job it is to build demos or be a content creator? And this is some kind for somebody who hasn't figured it out themselves, but like you need to have empathy for the people who build things.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, like I remember I had this conversation uh years ago when I was at Microsoft and I was doing keynote stuff. Somebody was
With
very
me.
adamant. Somebody was very, very, very adamant that this was an important thing, and I just couldn't
Yeah.
see it. And I'm sitting there, and I feel bad because this person is like, a PM and a couple of engineers have been working on this thing for like 3 months, and it's coming out of build, and like it's not like a tier one like for inside baseball, like Microsoft uses tiers to like how
Right.
important shipping things are. And this is like a tier
Right.
three. So like it was cool, but it wasn't like, oh, this is gonna like be on a main stage thing, right?
Right. Right.
And I told the guy, and I felt so bad. I had to apologize like the next day. This is a tier three announcement, and I said it so disparagingly. Um, so I guess my point is that everything that you demo has people behind it,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Even if AI is writing 99.999% of the code, there's still a PM who's making sure that the requirements of the business are being satisfied. There's still an engineer who is helped shaping the prompts and the context and the review and all those things to get it to work. Those people's time matters.
Mhm.
And just because something isn't sexy on stage doesn't mean that it's not valuable. And I think
Yeah.
what you then need to turn is you need to take the unsexy thing and make it important. That's your job. I used to say this to people when I would kick off like a work stream to run like a keynote or whatever. I would say my entire responsibility is twofold: is to make the products on stage look great and make the people on stage look like rock stars. And that's it. That's my job. Everything else
Yeah.
other than that is just me trying to boost my own ego. I don't know if they answer your
Yeah.
question or not, but I think it's a
No,
fascinating
that totally does.
conversation because you
That totally
yeah,
does.
yeah,
Yeah.
because you've been that person too, right? Like, how do you reckon with the fact, and as somebody who has done a lot of both, like you've done evangelism work, you've built demos, you've ran products, you've written code, like, how do you manage that dichotomy in your own head when you're building something? Like, I can't imagine, Brady, you look at something in your building, and you're like, oh, this is going to demo very well. I can't imagine you think like that, or maybe you do.
I always think about I always go back to what Mohit, one of my, original managers, would say. Just fantastic guy. He'd be like, tell me the experience. Well, so there's the system. No, 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 no. Don't start with API. Tell me the experience. What does a user do? They walk up to the thing, they open up the application, they see a button on the screen. What does the button say? Like walk through the experience. They click it and then what happens? Like, so walk through, so like I always start that way, which means you're kind of thinking demo first, you know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? Um, but I also think sometimes, it's on the responsibility of the PM to be able to be like, that's a really good idea. We're going to ease into that kind of UI thing, later on, and here's why. Like they should be able to explain the business parts of it. So I think, I definitely think experience first. Like, what is the user going to have to go through? And I'll call somebody like you. Hey, let me show you this thing that I'm working on. And I tend to show things to people really late,
Sure.
and this is something every dev does, I think, at some point. Like you're an early shower or a late shower, and for me, I'll wait until I'm like, I think this is something, and I'll show it to somebody. And the catch to that is you have to learn how to release your ego from your thing. Okay, like
Yeah.
if you're
Okay.
building a thing and you show it early, like somebody can kind of, poop on it and be like, oh, it's easy. I can walk away from it now. If you've worked on it for like a month and you show it to somebody, it's really hard when somebody poops on it and they're like, you're like, wow. I think you should just kind of make the decision. Like if you're going to wait till later and show it to somebody, you're like, somebody pooped on it, like, thermometer's going to have to be the same. Like,
Yeah.
they don't know how hard you've worked on it. That's not why you're here. Your how hard you worked isn't your agenda for the product. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think that's hard.
Well,
I
how
think
do you?
that's hard for PMs.
Yeah.
So
So, well, that was the thing I was going to ask is like, how do you not turn everything into your baby then? Because like time is very important, and you're not only
mhm,
about your own time, but you're worried about the time of all the people that have invested in the thing that you kind of run, right?
yeah, yeah.
How do you not get offended when somebody says it's not cool or it's not prioritized or it doesn't solve the thing that you're looking for it to solve? Like, how do you handle that emotionally? Because like these things do turn into children for some folks, right?
Yeah, yeah, that's tough. I mean, for me, I just say no. You know what I mean? I just say no. I mean, it was hard for a long time. Like if I was working on product foo and I really really enjoyed product foo and I wanted somebody to say thank you for the hard work I did, and I didn't feel like I was getting that. Like that was a hard place to be. I think anybody is going to suffer from that. I just had to kind of like the song, man. I had to let it go, dude. Like I literally just had to let it go. Like I don't do things for the applause.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and I didn't even do things for the applause when I was an advocate. And I'm not saying the advocates do that. I love you. You do good work, all of you. Um, um, but for me, it's like, is this product going to make somebody's life better? Does this product already exist? Am I wasting my own time? Please tell me if I am, so I can work on something that I'm not wasting my time on. Because
Mm-hmm.
I cannot stand it when it's like I this is a bad metaphor. I apologize. It's like when you were dating somebody in high school that 10 years later your friends were like, man, we all wanted to tell you. You're like,
Yeah.
hey, that's not cool. Like that's not cool. You don't get to say that now.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, like you should have told me that I was making a mistake earlier. I think that's something that advocates do really well. Like I can't demo this means I can't tell somebody why they'd want to use it. If I can't do that, like maybe you shouldn't be working on it.
Yeah, I struggle with this because I think I think there are two kinds of advocates. And I think there's one advocate that they can only work on things they really truly care about, where they understand the mission, they want to use the stuff even if they weren't getting paid for it. And that's one kind.
Yeah.
The other kind is you're going to pay me to talk about your thing, I'm going to talk about your thing. And that's
Uh-huh.
totally fine. I think both are totally fine. But you have to be honest with yourself. Like if you're somebody who cares a lot, you can't go and work for any company. You got to work for a company that you really truly believe in the mission. If you're a advocate for hire, so to speak, that's the worst way to phrase it. But if you're an advocate for hire, you have to be okay with like disagreeing with every single thing you see.
Yeah. That's
And
that's something to think about. Yeah.
yeah, and I mean, for you, like, how do you handle like conflict in that regard? Like, somebody
Oh,
comes to you. It doesn't have to be an advocate. It could be another PM. It could be an engineer, and you have an opinion, and your opinion, Brady, is strongly held, right? Yes, you probably could be convinced off of it, but like it's strongly held opinion. Somebody comes to you and says, Brady, this is not the right approach. How do you handle that? Do you growth mindset it? Do you try to negotiate? Like, what is the default for you when you get like feedback or something like that
Oh,
where you're just immediately like, nah, I don't want that. That doesn't jive with what I'm saying.
that's great. Okay, so let's say it's a keynote demo. Because I've been on. So one of my things at Microsoft was I wanted to understand how we interface with developers from as many perspectives as possible. So I've been in docs, engineering, advocacy, marketing. I've done it all. Um, uh, Master of none. So there's a thing that we would do in keynote planning or in any session planning where you kind of have this concept of a trio. You would have somebody in marketing whose job it is to like make sure the story isn't suck, and to make sure things are paid for, frankly. You have somebody in engineering whose job it is to build the thing you're showing. And then you would typically have an advocate who's either the person doing the presentation or the person who's like, kind of kind of the bullshit detector, frankly.
Sure. Yeah.
And I think most of the time, two of those people are on stage together,
Yeah.
or in some capacity. Everybody in that trio has an opinion.
Yeah.
Everybody in that
Yes.
trio has an opinion. And really what I would try to do there is to, like, optimize for the story being told. And that is a 1 hour experience. The only thing in software that ever ships on time?
A demo.
Keynote.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Keynote. Yeah.
the
Demo.
demo. So essentially, like, you've got to get that demo out there. Like, all that matters, you've heard me say this backstage, all that matters is this hour. Like, if we just get through this hour, we can fucking fight about it later on. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah.
Whatever
Yeah.
we want to. I could buy you a drink later. You know what I mean? So what I try to do when we go in those situations is, like, somebody is going to be unhappy, usually. One of
Sure.
the people is
Yeah.
going to feel slighted. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because, like, one person's putting the bill up, one person's doing the work to get the product out, one person's got to embarrass themselves on stage because it doesn't demo well. La 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 la. So, what you really have to do first is figure out who's suffering the most. So which of the three is suffering the most? Okay, the other two are going to have to give a little more. Okay,
Mm.
so you just kind of pad that experience. Now, this is a dance if you're the keynote organizer, because you've got 6 of those triads, because you've got an hour-long session.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so a lot of it is like, did I mention I used to be a therapist? So a lot of it is like, a lot of the psychological training that I went to is like, okay, this person's starting to feel slighted because this person's taking too long to do
Yeah.
this. We need to give them some comfort. So I got to work with this PM over here and be like, we need to show them what it's going to look like and what it's going to look like if you don't land that. Okay.
Mhm.
And the PM's like, what do you mean? I'm like, look, I'm not implying that you're not going to land it. I'm implying shit happens.
Yeah.
So what we're
Yeah.
going to do is we're going to have plan A and plan B, and I'm going to encourage you to have plan C. And you're going to need to talk to your engineering manager. I don't need to talk to him. That's your job. Just make sure you guys have plan A and plan B. I will promise you that if they continue to push on this little aspect of the demo that you don't want to show, I'll push back on that. If you can guarantee me you will have plan A, plan B, and plan C by Wednesday at 4.
Yeah.
And, like, you got to work those deals. And a lot of it is that alchemy, that red, yellow, green alchemy. At that point in time, I don't have emotions in it at all. They do.
Yeah.
you know
Yeah.
my emotions are how well the story gets told end to end. And you've got the executives kind of in your ear going, well, I didn't think that was going to glue together well here. I didn't think that was going to go. That's what you're worried about.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And in black belt and, like, Six Sigma land, they have this thing. I'll probably grossly misinterpret this, so if you're a black belt, I apologize. But I'll never forget this gentleman we talked about earlier at Bank of America. He was my Six Sigma black belt guy. He and I would talk, and he would be like, so this Hoshin plan, this Hoshin metric that you have to meet, la 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 la. I was like, okay, we need to talk about Hoshin metrics real quick. So, like, how does my Hoshin metric, like, I know mine serves yours. And he goes, yeah, so my goal for the year is da 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 da. Your goal for the year that serves that goal is da 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 da. I was like, well, what's Ken's goal? Like, the CEO. He was like, oh, Ken's goal is take over Wisconsin. And I was like, cool. Do you know
Yeah.
how your metric tracks? And he goes, absolutely, and you should too. So
Mm.
it's like he goes through, like, how each goal contributes to the next goal. I think that's also something that every PM should try to understand. Like, sure, I'm really emotionally attached to this feature looking the way I want it to look. Does it serve the business? Does it serve the customer? Not in that order. Does it serve some higher order bit? For the love of God, is conflicting with some higher order bit. Maybe that
Yeah.
might be why I can't get any cooperation from anybody. A lot of these dances that one needs to kind of figure out. And it's like, the rock sand metaphor. Figure what the rocks are. For the love of God, get those done first. Like, get the rocks out of the way. If the rocks are rocks in the relationship, try to figure out how to get ahead of those. Now when it comes to product versus demo, as a product person, I've always got to err on the side, is the product solving the problem that we're intending on solving. And I
Yeah.
think a lot of times there you have to steer demo where, I know you want to tell this story. Like, help me understand, Tim Hoyer, love you. Help me understand why this part of the demo is so important to the message you want to send. You see what I did there? I took you out of the equation. All there's is the message. If you can't articulate to me how this demo change you want me to make can't serve the message, you're doing it for you.
Yeah.
At that point,
100%.
we have a different conversation. That's a conversation over a meal. You know what
Yeah.
I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. And I think too, like, and this is gonna be a rough transition, so I apologize. It's like,
Okay, no, you're
you
fine.
know, we I talked about
I'm
this
going
on
on
my
about
show.
relationships. I do.
It's
So,
all good, man. We talked about this. I talked about this on my show a few weeks ago, and you messaged me almost immediately about it. Like, the idea of now we're in this world where everything is an AI demo, and AI demos aren't very fun to show, right?
right, right.
So, when you talk of, and I want to talk about Squad a little bit too as a part of this. So, like, when you think about Squad, and first off, let's pause. Let's do a little quick intro to what Squad is, and then we can talk about what Squad, like how it works in all of that
Sure,
world.
sure. We can do that. Squad is a way for you to enable a agent experience so that you talk to Copilot. Copilot becomes a coordinator of a bunch of other agents and is doing everything itself. So you would start a project, back in the early days. You start a coding project and you basically create a squad that lives in your code with you. They live in a folder called .squad. And as you work on your project, your squad might evolve. You might have a developer today, you might have two developers tomorrow, you might have a mermaid diagram author 2 weeks from now, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But your squad, it basically evolves and learns with your project as you continue. So there's that. That's kind of a summary of what Squad is. It only works with Copilot.
Yeah.
It will only work with Copilot until they make me work with something else, because there's only me and Tamir.
Yeah.
So
And the reason why I want to talk about Squad as it pertains to like showing things is because of the value that I think that Squad provides. I'm seeing lots of people do talks on Squad, right? And
so weird.
I mean, is it weird though? But I think the point that I'm trying to make in regards to that is like, I have a challenge myself when I try to like demo AI things, because it's unless you are 100% in and you want to tell the story, it's a little bit of waiting.
Mm-hmm.
And somebody like in the
Mm-hmm.
chat is like, AI demos are also kind of dull to watch. I don't disagree. I've said this 1,000 times. So
Yeah.
what's important is for you to be able to tell a
Imagine
story.
recording them.
Well, tell a story around what is happening behind the scenes. You
Yeah.
type in some silly prompt and hit enter, like what actually happens? Like you
Yeah.
might be pulling in different skills, you might be leveraging tools, you might be calling MCPs, you're doing all these things. There's models that are maybe calling other models to do other things. Like it is a non-trivial thing, right? So you
Yep.
tell
Right.
that story. And yeah, like the little message says like, I don't know, boiling the ocean or whatever dumb message that it says, right? You have time to tell a story. Whereas I think a lot of times when I've been doing demos, I feel like I don't have enough time to tell the story. I have to do a thing and then type and then do a thing and then
Rush
type.
over. Yeah.
Yeah, right? And there's a lot of hand waving. I think that with the fact that there is some subtle delay in getting to the result, there's an opportunity for people with storytelling interests to tell a great story there. I'd love to get
turning that into an opportunity instead of a detriment. I like that. That's good.
Yeah, I mean, and that's how I'm going about it. I'd love to get your thoughts too. Like when I've seen you demo things. Like if anybody who hasn't seen Brady demo things, there's tons of videos on YouTube. Anyway, great storyteller, whatever. So when you show people Squad for the first time, what are some of the things? What are some of the stories you want to tell?
The first story that I want to tell is, I like getting people excited. That
Sure.
is, I'm a DJ, I'm a drummer, like we like excitement. So what I do is I always start with a game. Like somebody said, "Hey, you're going to present to executive who, don't start with a game." I was like, "Sorry, I'll start with a game." And they were like, "That's not really professional." It's like, well, everybody plays games, you know. And I start with a game because it shows how quickly it can just do a thing. Like you can summarize a game this size prompt. And they're like, well, why do you have to start with something that simple? I'm like, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to start the thing up. Then I'm going to go to something complicated and walk through all the parts that it's making whilst
Sure.
it's making it, because who wants to watch it spin for 3 minutes?
Yeah.
So I'll walk through a done squad and show all the parts and show all the things and basically talk about what is happening right now. And then I'll flip back to that desktop and it's done. And then I can run the app.
Mm-hmm.
So what that shows is, yeah, it takes a minute. I'll acknowledge that. It's going to take about 5 minutes. It used to take about 9, 10. That was not fun. I have to
Yeah.
dance for 10 minutes. Well, it made a snake game. Like 3 minutes is a lot easier. So thank you. So from that perspective, like that gives you an opportunity to kind of tell that story. The second part of that I think is uh, starting something up in Azure. So, the second demo that I do is I talk about how .NET Terrarium is a good example of, squad and brownfield. So I always want to show greenfield and brownfield at the same time. So the idea about squad and brownfield is I aimed it at .NET Terrarium. And what I did with .NET Terrarium was over 2 nights, upgraded it to .NET 10. I've got 3 container apps that I have to go start up. So there's 2 moments where there's a pretty significant delay and a pause, and then forget about it when I actually open up Terrarium. It just slides from left to right really slowly the way it used to in WPF land. It's super slow. So it's 2 really embarrassingly slow moments, 3 if you count the rendering. So I have to kind of talk through that as well. And I think demoers who try to like, I don't know what's happening. Don't do that. Have a couple jokes. Like it's back to product work. Have a plan B, have a plan C. This might take longer on stage. If you got teams running or something, screencasting, that might take longer too. So, work all those things in. I think you can practice it, but once you're on stage, it's gonna, all that practice, all that does is gonna prepare you for the 2 or 3 things that you could have seen happen, not the 17 that you couldn't have seen happen. I think being graceful when those moments happen is also really valuable. But you're right, like doing AI demos is freaking boring. Like you want to have something to talk about whilst the prompts are running.
Mm-hmm.
And I also think it's valuable for you to know, like in the old days, we would divide our sessions up into stanzas. I think your stanzas are essentially the prompts today.
Sure.
So I think, issue prompt A, talk about what prompt A is doing, talk about what you're going to have on the back end, talk about this is what it looks like when it's done, and definitely have, the cooking show thing just in case it doesn't work out. And I think knowing what those gaps are going to look like for each one of those prompts is really valuable. And watching your show the other day when you spoke to that, I was like, man, like just doing video demos of it is like cumbersome because
Yeah.
there's just like the interface is a text box. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That it gets old.
Yeah, and I think too, like, and this is just me, but I actually like there being bad things happening on stage because it kind of feeds like the self-deprecation that I like to do when I do want to go on stage,
Yeah.
right? Like, I am not very buttoned up. I don't memorize line for line. I think people that do that, all power to them. I think that they do that because of anxiety than anything else. And I live in chaos, right? Like I enjoy the
Yeah.
chaotic moment of me getting on stage. Is it going to work today? Is it not going to work today? How am I going to get out of it? Are people going to laugh at my dumb jokes? Are people not going to laugh at my dumb jokes because I'm an American and I'm in, Copenhagen or whatever, right?
Yeah.
So but that's with on being on stage and your point about like recording a video for something, right? Like it's a bit harder to have a connection with the audience when they're watching something that you recorded today. They're watching it in 6 weeks or whatever, right?
Yeah.
um
Yeah.
but that's like a whole nother conversation about creating content, and I want to be mindful of your time, right?
Oh, it's okay. No, you're fine. You're fine.
I
No, no,
but
no.
one of the things I as we're about to wrap up, it's like you've been building stuff for a long time, and I think that you have built some very complicated things with your hands, right? And now you don't create complicated, 3D printed fidget spinners. I have a whole box of fidget spinners in front of me, by the way. So you built some very complicated things, and it was all Brady one by one type, 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 type.
Mhm.
And now it's Brady types for a little bit, Brady monitors, Brady directs,
He
Brady.
screams at the screen for a minute. Yeah.
Brady takes it out on an agent that doesn't have a emotion, which is interesting. Um, so how do
Don't
you?
do that with your squad agents because they will log that stuff. Don't do that with your squad agents because like you'll go back later on and look in like your commit logs and be like, oh my god, they thought I was mad. Like, wait, they don't exist.
It's
Why am I? What?
it's so funny. I this is a complete tangent, but I was trying to
Okay.
demo. I was trying to build a video for something last week, and basically the video was around showcasing how something can like basically sitting in the middle between the agent actually giving you the response and correct and giving it direction when you need to, right? Um, and like I'm like, okay, how am I going to demo this? Okay, I asked the agent, hey, write me some .NET functions that do this and this and this, but like don't write an idiomatic .NET and use not best practices. And the thing spins, and then it gives me a response saying, I was told to actually correct these mistakes, but I didn't listen because you told me to do it this way. And
Oh
I was
yeah.
like, oh man, like how do
Yeah.
I yeah.
Yeah.
Like these things are evolving in a way that makes me very uncomfortable. It's like I listened to you explicitly. Something else told me to not listen to you, and I listened to you anyway. Which
That yeah. Yeah. That happened to me the other day. Like my default model switched. Let's put it that way.
okay.
And I didn't notice. And again, I'm OCD. And I've been fearing that moment when like they would change my default model to that, and the personality change,
Hmm.
like the level of thoroughness. I was
Yes.
like, I don't know if I like this. This is weird.
Sure.
What I don't like is having to is no connection to the news today. Um, is having to box it in so much. Go, look, I only want you to presume that code in this repository is up for grabs. Don't be going off and like
Yeah.
changing the GitHub CLI. Come on. So there's that. But we do have to talk about one cool feature. I mean, I'm a product person. I gotta talk about one cool.
Please.
So
Please.
I've really gotten into this idea of agentic, SDLCs, like with Squad and like, Tamir and I always like to throw our squads at research problems and like whatever else. If you look out at the site today, the squad doc site, and you kind of go down under the guides section, you'll see there's a new area there called GitHub Agentic Workflows. I want to talk a little bit about that because I'm very excited about Works, and I would love for people to, give it a shot. This is a debut. So over the last couple of weeks, I've worked with Pelly over in Microsoft and GitHub Land. And one of the things that we've done is we've thought about the idea of Squad as more of a first class thing inside of agentic workflows. So we worked together to do a little bit of prototyping of Squad inside of agentic workflows, and then I basically said, like, Pelly gave me some good advice. He was like, "Well, you own Squad. Who better to articulate how Squad should spin up and do certain things? Just put these workflows into your repo." So this is what you do. You at the very top of this doc, you see how you can do, you turn on GitHub Agentic Workflows, and then you do, Agentic Workflow.add, and you point it at mine, and it pulls it in, and then you do a compile, and boom. What you get is the ability for you to use slash commands, such as whack squad cast and issues, and that will go off, look at your repo, and cast a squad and send you a pull request. And then you can merge that pull request. Boom, you have a squad. So you don't even have to clone your repo, install an agent, none of that junk. You just like go to your repo and type squad cast. And you can also type things like squad connect or adopt. Connect will basically, like, let's say you work in an enterprise and they've adopted squad. They have a squad that does everything the way they want it done, and they don't want developers messing with it. They can basically take their squad, put it in a repo, and you can connect your repo to that squad. And every time you use it, it'll just use that squad remotely. Or you can adopt. I'm not sure if I like that word, but what it will do is it will bring the squad into your repo, and now you've adopted it. Now you can teach it and stuff. So there's a couple different options here. We've done this over the last week and a half. Been pretty exciting. But then you get into planning and you get into validation and plan acceptance and whatever else. It's not perfect yet. In some cases, you'll blow your context window. So I'm working through the idea of you being able to accept plans in phases, so like if you have like a plan that has like 5 milestones and 40 work items, you might not get all those issues on that first run because, you might blow your context window. But if you're a squad person, I'd encourage you to take a peek at it. If you're not a squad person, I'd encourage you to take a peek at it because it can actually just cast a squad for you on the fly. That's one of the options is you can be like, I don't want a squad in my repo, just make one every time. A
Are
little bit more
these
processing power.
so?
So
I'm gonna ask a dumb question. Are these like
sure.
perpetual? Like, do they live forever, or are they like? Because I mean, the biggest, I guess, comment about all of this stuff is that they're non-deterministic. Is there determinism here? Is there memory, or is it just similar to like dispatching like a runner? Like I need a runner to do this thing. Let me go get this squad runner and do things.
Well, it depends on how you ask it. Okay, so like
Okay.
if you go into your repo and you make a new issue, I'm gonna have a video soon. Sorry, back to our video making discussion. I keep running into, I'm trying to make it perfect. If you were to go and you make an issue and you describe in that issue, what you want your squad to look like, and then you add a comment to that issue, which it's only working on comments right now. You do whack squad cast and you hit comment. At that point, an action spins up. It will look at your repo. It will do all the things that you would do if you cloned your repo and did it the way I taught you how to do it. And it will send you a pull request, and that pull request will have the new files in it with your squad.
Mm.
And then from there on out, that will be your squad that you use. You can also say, I want to connect it. Like I said, you could connect it to an external squad. So let's say Isaac has a squad in a repo that is the way Isaac codes or is the way Isaac does projects. You could every single time you could say squad connect to that one and just use that one. Every time your action runs, it'll pull that squad in and just use that squad. It won't learn. It'll just be static, so you do have that kind of control over it. But squad does learn its files on disk. Over time, those files you need to clean them out. You just tell your squad to clean them out. But I've got other videos on that. You want to do that. But this really just gives you a way to kind of do some of the individual phases that you would do directly from your CLI terminal. But you do these from within issue comments directly inside of GitHub. You could do this inside of the GitHub Copilot app. You could do this inside of the GitHub Chrome and the browser. What we've got now is essentially everything up to coding. I'm on the fence with Tamir on that one. I would like to give you the opportunity to assign, implementation work items to Copilot and have Copilot go off and do the coding for you. Tamir and I also want to give you the ability to assign an item to your squad and let your squad go off and do the work. Different companies have different aspirations there.
Sure.
So,
I mean, I feel like we can. I mean, and you have. I feel like we can talk about squad for another hour, but I want to be mindful of your time, right?
you're good. You're good. I'm
I
open. You're free.
I
We can
mean,
keep going.
I think one thing too that I'm very fascinated about as it pertains, and squad is a part of this story, but it's not like the central part, right? The idea that you can have multiple agents doing multiple different things in conjunction with each other, interacting at the same time, and they all just do the thing and then they give you some output, right?
Yep.
I have struggled for the last 6 to 8 to 12 months, or however long this has become like the de facto way to do things. When my context window gets over like 2 agents running simultaneously. So how do you go about solving that problem for some people that, maybe they can think about things in parallel 4 or 5x times, but like there's other people like me that's like, man, if I get past 2, like I don't want to look at anything. I just want to say, tell me when it's done. How do you
I mean,
handle that?
that's, yeah, I mean, I don't, I mean, I handle that by, not to sound like Bane, I handle that by not handling it. I talk to Copilot. Copilot is my squad's coordinator. At some point in time, Copilot might pull up 3 agents. At another point in time, Copilot might pull up 9 agents. I never know. I just watch Copilot, and I'll see multiple purple lines with multiple names. Um, I don't know. I don't think it's my job to This is one of those, faith-based things. I don't think it's my job to understand every single line of every single conversation that all my agents are having every single time. What does matter is whether or not I'm reviewing what comes out.
Hmm.
So like, yes, 9 times out of 10, I'm manually reviewing everything that comes out. Sometimes it's too big, and I'll just have another agent go and summarize it for me, and then I'll go look at the problem areas and whatever else. And then Copilot will catch it in code review almost every time if I don't catch it. Um, so many good things are going on there. So I don't know. I would tell you, don't think about the fact that there's 10 agents working or 13 agents working or 3 agents working or 2 agents working. There's, if you have a good coordinator, the coordinator is going to pull in what the coordinator needs.
Hmm.
It's just like any distributed system, like, if you have a sale, is that service going to scale your application the way you expect them to? They better. If you ask Copilot a question, is Copilot going to figure out which teammates they need? Yes. So I would worry less about that and worry more about what you're reviewing when it comes out.
Yeah, that's fair. So, with that, then, is the job of an engineer today to, and I've said this 1,000 times, and I just want to hear your
Hmm.
opinion on it. Like, is
Hmm.
the job of an engineer today is to define the inputs and realize the outputs, and that's the job, or is the
No,
job a bit more
not
nuanced than that?
realize. No, it's definitely more nuanced than that. I think that the job of an engineer is the job of an engineer who is using AI in their role, and you should be, is to clearly define what's expected and to understand that there's going to be a little bit more refinement than that. There's going to be a little bit more refinement in that process than you want to do. Just like when you had to work with a business analyst or a this or a that or a PM or whatever, there's like before it was like weeks of meetings and
Hmm.
somebody had to write it all down and analyze it. Now it's like common sense, experience, documentation. Okay, throw that into a pot together, shake it really, really vehemently, have an opinion, and then kind of point it that way. Like that's kind of like your engineering responsibility is tell me what you want. Tell me how you're going to evaluate whether or not I've given you what you want. Tell me how to evaluate it first, and tell me how secure you want it to be.
Sure.
If you don't tell me, I'm going to make it really freaking secure because I know how I can hack things.
Somebody in the chat, I want to just hear your response to this. Somebody in the chat just said, I think the future engineer is kind of a micromanaging boss.
Yeah, it is. It totally is. It
And
really, really is.
I haven't heard of it phrased like that, but yeah. I mean, I think of the term micromanage. I think anybody kind of thinks it with a negative context, but like that's because humans don't like being micromanaged typically. These things don't care.
I don't care.
So, hmm. I, and two, like, I'd love to kind of get your thoughts as like,
I have thoughts on that
where
as a therapist too, by the way. Like people are becoming like the more you use AI, the more petulant you become with other people. Because like you
interesting.
want to treat them the way you treat agents. You're like, but why won't you do what I want? Wait, I'm sorry.
Well, so you mean like the last like 70 years of creating all this empathy for people is just being
Yeah.
thrown in the garbage because
Yeah,
we
pretty
can
much.
yell we
Yeah.
can yell at a prompt, yell at a
Exactly.
screen.
Yeah, exactly.
Um
So your second part to that.
where do you see eventually this going? Like I think that right now, at least for me, if you look at like, we talked about the SDLC very briefly, right?
Yeah.
Um
Yeah.
right now, like if you look at the SDLC in I guess legacy view, like the code generation part is now free or timeless or I guess finite, like very very small amount of time. But planning still takes time.
Yeah.
Gathering business requirements still takes time. Research takes time.
Understanding a system
Yep.
takes years.
Yep.
Yeah. Exactly.
Integration takes time. Deployment takes time.
Yep.
What is in like if you were to take a wild guess, what is the next part in the SDLC that is going to be subsumed by the thought of agentic use extensively?
I think I think having talked to customers, having worked on these things myself, enjoying working on them. I think finding ways. So we've always talked about the provider model and design patterns and stuff like that. And one of the things that I know many of us are very passionate about is being able to build pluggable systems. When you talk about something like an agentic SDLC, what you're talking about is I know how to turn from here to there. I know
Sure.
how to go from build to test. I know how to go from test to release. I know how to go from release to UAT. I know how to do all of the little mechanicalisms, okay, of all of these things. And I know how to do it across all the systems. I've got documentation everywhere on how to do Jenkins, on how to do TeamCity, on how to do GitHub, on how to do la 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 la. I can do it all. Okay, I'm not worried about any of that. What I'm worried about is tell me what your basket looks like and tell me where you want to inject yourself.
Mm.
That is a really great conversation for I think everybody to have. I think you should ask folks that. In an agentic world, like in a world where agents are doing more things, where do you feel you add the most value to whatever that agentic process is? Like if
Sure.
God help me, if I could ever have agents doing 3D printing stuff for me, that would be lovely.
Yeah.
Like now they know when to take it off the tray. Now they know when to do this. That'd be great. Um, like I don't know. I think we need to lean in more. I think we need to be scared. I think we need to think about kill switches. I think we really need to think about guardrails as a baseline, and true control mechanisms in place. Like AI is great. AI plus an AST is amazing, because the AST is your hard rules. Like I'm going to go this way all the time, you know. Like I think when you start thinking I'm going to put AI everywhere so I don't have to write any code. No, 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 no. Do the things that are fast because the AI ain't, like
Sure.
so. I think using AI for micro decisioning is really, really helpful. Like, I'm going to give you this box in which to operate. All I want you to tell me is how to solve this problem. Like the
Mm.
other day, it was like, hey, take this Aspire app and give me Signal or real time messaging so I can bubble things up from the back end. You know what it ran into? I'll give you one guess. My favorite topic. First challenge it gave me was, well, if you're going to be an ACA, you're going to run multi-home, so you're going to need to worry about how your SignalR stuff's going to be done through data protection layer. Have you thought about that? And I'm like, funny, I wrote that doc. Here's a link.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, but you have to box in the AI and go, only do it this way, So but I also think you run the risk there of sometimes it might know things you don't know yet. And like sometimes you want the AI to be creative, but you want to be the guardrails. You got to be the guardrails. But
Sure.
what I'm seeing right now is let let the AI, let the LLM do the things that you've already given it the guardrails to do. Like you've got all of your processes in place. Allow it to kind of do those processes and to notify you when it needs input.
Yeah.
Like work yourself into these processes where you need to be in, where you add value. You know, like I think we get to the point in somewhere in the next 2 3 years where it's sort of like what was the Jetsons robot's name?
Oh,
Like
Rosa? Is that Rosa?
Rosie,
Rosie,
like
maybe.
part Rosie, yeah, yeah. Rosie the robot. Part of your day is dealing with whatever your interface is. Like part of your stand up is listening to Rosie go, okay, here's where we are. Like these are decisions I need made by the humans. Like if we had a product that could just do that, like you go into your sprint meeting every day, Rosie goes, here's where we are. It turns it inside out. Instead of you asking the agents, where are we? What's left to be done? It's over there doing the work because you've set up such good guardrails that when you go to your sprint meeting the next day, all it does is say, "Tell me what decisions you need, team.
Yeah.
Like here are the things I need you to tell me for the next 24 hours." And you do it and you check in. So I think we're the bumpers,
Yeah.
shall we say?
Yeah. No, I mean, I think, and this has been said a thousand times before, but it's like you can't fire a robot, you can't fire an AI, right? So there always has to be accountability, right? And I think humans now, it's extra accountability because not only are we responsible for defining are providing output, but we're also making sure that the output is following whatever responsibility patterns that we have across our organizations, right?
Yeah.
Um,
And I think a lot of that is like making the like telling the AI, Don't go off and be creative and go write novels. Like
yeah,
solve this problem, please. Just solve this problem.
yeah,
Don't solve, you know, don't solve all the meta problems on this problem. I only need you to solve this problem. Isolate your prompt, isolate your work to this space. Like we really need training like in how to box in the AI to solve the problem we need it to solve instead of going off and like, oh, I'm gonna write a new CMS for you and a Kanban board and whatever.
sure.
God knows how many Kanban boards. So
Ray, this has been great. I
it's been great, man. Good
I,
talk.
I really appreciate like it's always good to chat with you. You know that I chat with you all the time. But it's really good to kind of hear your thoughts about a bunch of different topics. Like, whenever we talk, we just kind of just complain about work. But so it's always nice to just chat with you about what what you're actually doing and what you're passionate about and some of the life lessons you've learned about things. And for folks that you're not already following Brady, I highly recommend doing so. Brady Gaster, most places online.
Except for Twitter, somebody
S-
stole that.
yeah, but I mean, you could find Brady's Twitter if you go to their GitHub
Yeah,
or their
yeah,
Blue Sky or whatever, right?
yeah, yeah.
So um, but you know, and also I'll put some links to Squad and some other stuff down in the show notes for folks that want to play around with it because I think it is really really cool, and I think that there's tons of opportunity to do things in a way that makes a bit more sense than just using one prompt and then having to wait. Like you can actually define things and have some personality to some stuff, which I think is awesome.
Yeah.
Um, Before we sign off, my friend, do you have any parting words?
No, I would just say like if you're sitting there and you're wondering about like is this gonna happen? Is that gonna happen? Start building. If you're sitting there and you're wondering like what I should build, start building. Just keep freaking building. You
Yeah,
have everything in front of you, keep building. Like just build.
and you
Like
have
something will stick.
and you're fast tracked, right? Like you don't have to boilerplate code is no longer a bottleneck. Um, Getting stuck is not really a bottleneck. Getting started is not really a bottleneck. It's just opportunity for you to think outside the box of what you're capable of doing, which I think
Yeah.
is great for human
Yeah.
beings.
And really I would not get like this pains me to have to like learn this, but and then to start to say it. Don't get so attached to your code. Get attached to your ideas.
Mm-hmm.
Like get attached to the goal. See that goal all the way through. Don't get attached to your code and like how you did it today. You'll learn a new way tomorrow. There'll be some new framework, especially if it's JavaScript.
Sure.
So just like, just like don't get attached to those things. Get attached to like something getting delivered. So
I couldn't have said it better myself. And Brady, as always, I want to thank you for your time, and I want to thank the people who are watching in live and the people that are listening in the future. My name is Isaac Levin. This has been Copy and Open Source, and if you like this episode, share with your friends because I think it's worth listening to. At least that's my opinion.
yes.
I'm here, so who knows? But I hope you have a great rest of your day. And for my friend Brady Gaster, take care.
Take care, everybody. Have fun.
All right, that's it, sir.